Hey, this is Rice Bonds, Montana DeYoung, back here with you again. And I just had a one-day mail day today that is kind of special. It's kind of strange given the backdrop that I've chosen for today. Usually I have a suite of cards, a whole array of cards that I have back there, just so that it has, kind of a cool background to look at, some eye candy to interact with and talk about while I'm opening up my boxes and bubble mailers on camera. But because of what is in this box today, I just wanted to leave this card up. I wanted to tell a story really about how this card came to be. This card was actually a high risk purchase. I'll have to tell you guys another time about how I came about this specifically, but it all started with my sort of impulse buy of this card online. Two cards out of number to 50 of bonds came up in the past couple of months, one after another from the same seller. And I actually know the person who won the first bonds. He actually got in touch with me, or vice versa, and he explained to me that the seller of the card had gotten in touch with him and had told this buyer that he had a unstamped replacement version of the 1999 Metal Universe PMG available of Barry Bonds and Cal Ripken. So here's the strange thing. The seller had the number 2 out of 50 and number 3 out of 50 of both Barry Bonds and Cal Ripken. And then he put this card and the replacement Cal Ripken on eBay at the same time, just a few weeks after the second sale of both players. So that's just it's a little bit fishy, right? I mean, there's no reason why somebody would have the exact same numbering of two different players unless they just happen to be obsessed with the numbers 2 and 3 for whatever reason. They're not the player jersey numbers. And also obsessed with the player, right? What's more likely is there's something else going on. And I was told that this seller actually was consigning these cards from the original owner, who was a family member of somebody who worked at Fleer Skybox, believe it or not. And that he had had these cards in his collection the entire time until recently. I assume he passed away, and his daughter came with these cards to the shop and sold a bunch of them in a massive auction. That is my understanding, and when I understood that to be the case, I took a closer look while this card was at auction on eBay, just because there was a higher likelihood that this card is legit, a higher likelihood that this card was taken off the conveyor belt at the factory, along with numbers 2 and number 3 out of 50 for both Bonds and Ripken. Uh, to me, it meant that it wasn't some aftermarket release. It wasn't some sort of bankruptcy situation. That this was a legit card cut from one of the sheets that they cut the pack issued cards from. Except that if you're thinking what I'm thinking, those cards weren't even packed out. So as I was paying for this card, I tracked down the seller and called him over the phone to talk to him about this card, ask him what the source of this card was, what the story behind it was, what the provenance was. And while I was talking to him, he mentioned that actually he was about to release his final pair of Bonds and Ripken PMGs from 1999. And I was stunned to hear that. And of course, I told him, okay, well, I just bought this from you formally from eBay. I have a video up where I unbox it and show the card coming out of the eBay authenticity, I don't know, gift box or whatever. But the fact that this seller had the 1 out of 50, the 2 out of 50, and the 3 out of 50, and the unstamped replacement of Bonds and Ripken made me very confident about the authenticity, I guess, of this card. Now, I don't know what eBay was authenticating. I don't know what they were authenticating this as, because the story behind it is a lot more complicated than probably anyone at CSG or eBay would be privy to. So I worked out a deal, cash, before it made it to market. I actually attempted to get the 3 out of 50 the last time I came up about a couple months ago, and I missed. I was the underbidder for an extremely high ending price. Actually, the same price that the first card ended at. So I actually paid cash money for this card with no protection. And that's pretty odd, you might say, because I just had a horrible experience when I did have protection, but just maybe not as much as I would like. But I just had a good feeling about this seller. He just seemed like a merchant. He seemed like reliable. I tracked him down by calling a phone number that I found on the internet. Accidentally reached his wife, who was super creeped out by my text to him, but then got back to me and we hammered out a deal. He was able to, save on some overhead, and as was I. So it's a win-win. And you have the 01 out of 50. My friend Rodney, who's an expert at numbering and at baseball cards in general, especially the 1990s 1990s baseball cards, told me that this stamping was good because there's something particular about the way the numbering is added on after. Because as you can see here, the of 50 precious metal gems is printed first, and then the actual number of the card is, I guess, one of the last things that happens in the process. It's cool to have the 01. I mean, between the 01, 02, and 03, I would definitely rather have the 01, all things held equal, meaning if they were all in the approximately same condition. I don't even think that it's correct that this was the first one made. This one just happened to be the one stamped 01. I don't know if there's any guarantee that 01 is the first stamp they put down. I mean, for whatever reason, just given the printing machines and the stamping machines, it's entirely possible that they start off at 10 or something like that, something crazy, which lay people wouldn't understand necessarily. I'm just saying that I don't think this card was the first card made, nor was it necessarily even the first card stamped with a serial number. It was just the card that got stamped 01, a 50. But even still, it is nice to have any kind of special number. I don't know. We all think numbers have magic to them, and we all put a lot of stock and superstition into numbers. So it's understandable that I would prefer that one over the other ones. So this is the legit one. It came just a few days after I got the, I guess, illegitimate one. This one is in better condition. Wow, this there's an actual penny sleeve here. That's a smart thing to do just to prevent the surface from getting scratched. But it also makes it more likely that there could be separation in the magnet and the card could slip out. I think. I don't know. I've never put a penny sleeve inside, although I wouldn't be against it. In fact, those cases that can accommodate an entire penny sleeve within the magnetic is very appealing to me, just because I think that a penny sleeve is the safest place to put a card, as long as it's in a top loader. So, I mean, I already got my excitement yesterday when I opened this. It had been sitting there for a couple of days waiting for me, having arrived from the CSG Authenticity Center that's affiliated with eBay. And this seller, I mean, I'm really lucky because I put a lot of money, more money even than the amount that I had offered the person who ultimately didn't send that card or scammed me or sent the card and it got stolen on the way. Regardless, I sent an even larger amount for this card. Sight unseen. I had seen a picture of it, of course, but I didn't know this person. I would have no recourse if he didn't send the card. But he did, and it's from all intents and purposes, from all angles and outward and obvious perspectives, a beautiful card that's in very, very nice condition. So what a cool thing to have. I spoke to one of my friends who's a 90s collector who was a big fan of Ken Griffey Jr. and told him and asked him if he'd ever heard of these cards here that were replacement cards, didn't get number printed on them, and he said he'd never heard of it. And this guy is really, really knowledgeable. So, I mean, it's possible that this is one of the only copies in existence. Regardless of whether it is or not, I know that this isn't some bankruptcy sheet cut type thing. That this card is the same generation, probably was made in the same factory within the same few minutes as this card. Came off a sheet almost contemporaneously. And that makes a big difference to me, because then having both of these cards is kind of a bonus, because there is a difference. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Until next time.